Sora 2 has been ruined.
The no-fun nerfers have taken the joy from AI video generation yet again.
I have a dream that Sora AI should stop being so strict.
Okay, you could make the argument that that's pretty fun, though.
No, Kevin, listen to Hank Green.
Also, I'm scrolling Martin Luther King Jr. going 6'7". Like, that's gotta be illegal somehow.
Well, okay, I also agree with that person.
It's confusing. We're here to help you wade through all the new Sora 2 news and be able to figure out what you can make and what you can't.
Plus, we'll talk about what the future of AI video tools like Sora and others might be, including ads, baby.
Plus, Grok's AI video model Imagine gets an upgrade and is VO 3.1 around the corner.
Oh, can't we just have a moment where we can bask in the glory of our new robot overlords?
That's right, Figire 3 is here, and we will get into that and all the latest bots in Robot Watch.
Also, we're in person. We're together in San Francisco.
Or are we, Kevin?
AI for humans.
Welcome, everybody. It's AI for Humans. We are here in person in San Francisco, weirdly, this week. But we are going to jump right into Sora 2 news, Kev. This is a big week because Sora 2 has been nerfed. That is right, and we expected this. I want to say we are maybe the first to call this out loud when Sora 2 launched, and everybody, ooh, I almost knocked my hand off there. Not Sora. That was real. That was a real thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm counting your fingers to make sure. That's how I know I'm not lucid dreaming anymore when I hallucinate these podcasts with Gavin.
And Kevin has been sick, so me being this close to him is a pretty dangerous thing. But okay, so let's go back. So when we first talked about Sora 2 last week, obviously it was kind of weapons free, right? It had just come out. They were letting people do SpongeBob. They were letting people do Cartman. I saw a like 2-minute full like South Park clip that was created. This week, Sam Altman dropped a blog post, which we know is semi-serious when Sam does that. And this blog post was very much, it wasn't I'm sorry. And in fact, the thing I think that's really interesting about this is that Sam is putting on a very happy face to this, that like, hey, all these people reached out to us. And they said, like, we love this, but...
Yeah, the feedback was just so overwhelmingly positive that Sam had to pump the brakes. No, Sam said some people had reached out to say, hey, we don't want this,
yes,
right? And
yes.
They had an opt-out approach of using intellectual property or celebrity likenesses. They said some people reached out and said, we actually don't like this. I actually don't want to be on screen with Bruce Lee talking about TikTok numbers or Logan Paul boxing matches. But he did say that some reached out and said, you're not using me enough.
Yes. And what I think is interesting is they did have this thing that came out in the Wall Street Journal about a week ago, a week before Sora 2 came out, where it said like people were given only a week to opt out, but that was the policy, was opt out. You didn't have the chance to opt in.
Right.
And lots of people got very mad about that after the fact. In fact, the Motion Picture Association released a pretty scathing statement about this, where they basically said, since Sora 2's release, videos that infringe on our members' films, shows, and characters have proliferated on OpenAI's service and across social media. While OpenAI clarified it will soon offer rights holders more control over character generation, they must acknowledge it remains their responsibility, not right holders, to prevent infringement. So, Kev, did OpenAI step in it here? What are we thinking? Is this? We should also make sure we hear from what Sam had something to say about this, but I'm curious to know your thought about it.
I think this is going according to plan. I'm sure there is a whiteboard somewhere at OpenAI that they were like, well, how do we get millions of users overnight? How do we get to #1 in the App Store? And it's not by restricting every generation. It's by flexing the insane power of your model because you just blatantly swept in every pixel and everything that you could and let people generate it. And there you go.
And it worked with 4.0 image gen. We saw that, right? 4.0 image gen melted the servers of OpenAI and turned a crazy moment into something bigger. Now, this time they were able to better manage the servers because they had an invite-only sort of scenario. And if you notice, I think the invites opened up a lot more once they put this restriction on a little bit. I do want to talk about the reaction of Sora users to this, because it is a little bit of that red carpet poll that we've been talking about that they did last time, which is give everybody every option in this magical world of like, you can do anything with any sorts of IP. Right. And then they got very mad. In fact, I want to play right here a Sora video that was created which is using Martin Luther King Jr. that many people have feelings about. But this was a video that has 23,000 likes on Sora, which is a massive number for that platform right now, considering how big it is.
I have a dream that Sora AI should stop being so strict.
So another one of these remix tools with Martin Luther King, but this is a really interesting conversation right now because on one side, you've got these people that see this amazing new creative tool, and part of it for them has been like, hey, I can use Cartman or I can use SpongeBob and do all these funny things. Right. Of course, there are people who are also doing things that like are not great for those brands. But on the other side, you've got these people that are saying, hey, unless I give you my specific rights to do this, this is a pretty bad idea to kind of just go weapons free.
Yeah, again, I think it's according to somebody's plan there. I don't think this is a surprise to anybody. It's not like Sam Altman woke up and went, oopsie, we should have seen that coming. Of course they saw this coming. They, raced it out. They wanted to get mass adoption. They got it. Do I shed a tear for anybody that overnight started a faceless YouTuber TikTok channel that was based off of infringing on MLK and SpongeBob, right? And they're like, hey, you gave me this tool. Now I'm leaving you a 1-star review in the App Store because people are brigading.
Yeah, it's at 2.3 stars in the App Store.
And not because it got worse, like the performance got worse. It's just they started restricting what you can generate. So do I cry for those that were going to infringe and build a new empire upon it? No, not really. But do I understand the hate or the disdain? Sure. Yeah. And by the way, the app is actually less fun right now.
Yes.
It got less fun to scroll.
So we should talk a little bit about what Sam has gone. There's developer day information that we're going to talk about later. That was something he was doing, a public thing. But he also went on a bunch of podcasts, including A16Z's podcast. And disclaimer: we do have an investment in A16Z, but
what a weird disclaimer.
It is a disclaimer
right now.
I know, right? We have we have an investment there, so we have to make sure we know that. But this clip, when they went on, I think is interesting to talk about, like how Sam is kind of like, I guess, like kind of like circling around this conversation.
In the case of Sora, we've heard from a lot of concerned rights holders and also a lot of
name and likeness
and a lot of rights holders who are like, my concern is you character and enough.
Yeah.
I want restrictions for sure, but like if I'm, whatever, and I have this character, like I don't want the character to say some crazy offensive thing, but like I want people to interact. Like that's how they develop the relationship, and that's how like my franchise gets more valuable. And
okay, so let's talk about two things here. You had pointed out there is a strange edit in this. I don't want to like shade the A16Z editing team, but I wonder what that was. Like there was a moment there where he said like my character enough, which you could kind of dig into.
He said that the president has full power to do whatever he wants.
No, he did not. No, he did not. No,
is it plenary?
He did not say that. He did not say that. But I do want to talk about what this argument says. And honestly, I think there's a kernel of the truth of this, which is, first of all, it's a way to kind of say like, clearly what Sam is saying here, just to reiterate, he's like, some of the people we talked to felt like that their character wasn't being used enough or wasn't being promoted enough. And sure, I mean, you can imagine, like, I'm trying to think of like, what is the most random IP that's out there? Like Captain Planet. Maybe the Captain Planet owners were like, why hasn't Captain Planet showed up everywhere? Yeah, he's not showing up, and he's not working with the Big Lebowski IP to do like some sort of thing.
I want to see Heart and Earth in the ring against Stephen Hawking, because we talked a lot about WWE, and we wonder, was WWE one of the brands?
I bet they did. Yeah. I bet WWE has said, please use us, because you can generate some really crazy stuff with WWE. There's a lot of really good walkouts. In fact, there's a really good remix, which we'll talk about a little bit later, about like two people walking out. And once I saw George Washington versus Abraham Lincoln, and I then remixed it with Martha Washington and Mary Todd Lincoln. And it's just fun to do.
Divas out there.
So one thing I want to say here, though, is I have this really interesting idea behind this, and I think the Sora team is really onto something, which is you can imagine a world where, as a business model, I said this as a tweet, but like imagine the Mandalorian season, whatever, 22 is coming out, whatever it is on right now, and little Grogu is your promotional tool, right? And if you said for like 2 weeks, we're going to allow Grogu generations in the app, and we're going to control it by saying like, no drug Grogu, no, Rastafarian Grogu, no whatever you want to put against Grogu that you can't do. Yeah. But like, you could see a moment where suddenly that would pop in a really big way, and people would be like, oh, maybe the Mandalorian's coming out, and it is. So I think there is a pathway to this, but I think a little bit of this is damage control. And to your point, like, yes, the obvious answer to this is like they have the ability to go weapons free, and you see it for the first couple days.
It's a flex.
Yeah, it's a flex.
It's a flex for users. It's a flex for their video model.
Yeah.
It's a flex to Hollywood and those traditional IP holders,
Yes.
right? And we're going to see, we were talking about it this morning, the great bifurcation, not only of individuals who say, you know what, this is the new normal.
Yeah.
Take my avatar, use my Cameo, do whatever you want. We've sort of early aired on that side.
Yeah, for sure.
There will be others that try to lock it down and clamp it, but the observation that you made is very astute. We would have just even 2 years ago laughed at the notion of Beavis and Butthead appearing in Call of Duty or famous hip hop
Yes.
stars popping up as Fortnite bosses,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Like they'd be, oh my God. Now it's sort of like a rite of passage that your brand has made it. This will happen with the Cameo-ification, I think, of individuals and brands.
Yeah, and before we move on, because I don't have more to talk about there, I want to show a couple more kind of anger Soras that were very funny. First of all, you may have seen...
I just as you got me thinking about Captain Planet, I was like, I haven't seen if anybody's even tried Captain Planet.
Yeah.
Hamburger Helper.
Ooh.
Is he in there?
No, that's a good question.
Got to find out if the helper's in there.
Should we try one?
Fully watch.
Hold on, I'll tell you what. Let me use my phone. You type it in, and I'll say what I was going to do. Hold on.
Oh, Jesus, Michael Jackson's singing about something right now.
Yeah, he's just showed up, Michael Jackson. There.
People get mad when we get delighted by things like Michael Jackson, MLK, Mr. Rogers, which I think we'll get to. Like, I understand that. But there's something instinctually like
fun. It's collective. It's a collective unconscious, right? It's this idea. It's all these pieces of our culture that are kind of buried in us, and playing with those things is fun. So I do want to shout out 2 other Sora videos that popped about this anger thing that were really interesting. One is there's an amazing remix going on right now of kids talking about a costume that they see, and one of them was specifically like content blocking costume. So play that one here real quick.
Oh, look at this. Content violation. I want to be content violation error. Same. That shirt is awesome. We could all be it. Let's do it. I want to be content violation error.
And then there's another one, which is great. Bob Ross has become a big person like Mr. Rogers or like MLK, because it seems like historical figures and maybe PBS footage specifically, because it's owned maybe by the government and maybe there's different copyright restrictions that they show up. But Bob Ross is one here where he's trying to paint something and then he sees the restriction on his paint. Bob gets very mad. Take a look at this.
Just put a nice little tree right over. Huh? What is this? I can't, it won't let me. Let me paint! That's it. Ah, I'm coming for you, Sam Altman.
That is not a happy Bob Ross, Kevin. So you're putting it in there. We'll see if we can make it. Oh, by the way, while we're talking about this, a person that just added themselves to Cameo is Mark Cuban.
So I meant to tag you and me and this hamburger helper, but I guess I fat thumbed and we got Mark Cuban as well.
Oh, good.
So we're going to see if you and Mark Cuban are hanging out with hamburger helper.
We'll show this while we're watching it, but Kevin hasn't seen this yet. So we're recording our podcast and Mark Cuban pops out of the wall in the same way that Sam Altman did last week. So it added brought to you, it added that on its own. It added brought to you guy Cost Plus Drugs.
Now, is that in all of his generations? Because that would be smart. Because you can add custom instructions to your avatar.
That's really interesting.
And you can say always wears a red cap or always says blah, blah, blah. I wonder if he says.
Let's look at one of his other ones. Let's see. So cameos. We're doing this in real time, y'all. Let's see. Okay, so let's just pick one.
It does.
Wow, see, that is brilliant. So we already have a person out there, shout out Mark Cuban, who's understanding how to play with the form. Every time he does a video or is cameoed in video, it shows up with an ad. So that's a pretty interesting idea.
So I put in my custom instructions for like a night, always talks about NFTs. And I saw a few generations come out where I'm like, I don't know if the end user was like, why is he talking about NFTs?
I saw one of those and I was wondering what it was. That is really interesting. I want to move on, Kev, to talk a little bit about the reaction of people to this content, because one of the biggest YouTubers out there, Hank Green, actually went out of his way to record about a 4-minute, I would call like a real rant. Like this is Hank being really mad. Let's play a little clip of this where he gets really upset and we'll talk about his reaction to this about the MLK thing.
Also, I'm scrolling Martin Luther King Jr. going 6'7". Like, that's gotta be illegal somehow. Like, I'm pretty sure that you can't just do that. And if you trot out Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act and say, we didn't do that, the person put in the prompt. It's not OpenAI's fault. We can't be held responsible for the content of our platform, even though our computers enabled its creation and also did the actual creation of turning a single sentence into that monstrosity. OpenAI.
So Hank Green is mad, and I understand why. And what's really interesting about this is my thought process has changed slightly on Sora 2 over the course of this week. I found myself scrolling it, and it's super delightful and entertaining still. But there is something going on in my brain, and it was a Mr. Rogers clip that made me kind of feel differently about this, because like when I saw Mr. Rogers, who by the way is like a person that I, as like a childhood hero of mine, like I really believe was a person that only brought like good into the world in the same way Martin Luther King, I believe, is a hero for me and other people as well too. It does feel slightly off to see things like that, and to, especially when people are leveraging it for promotion or for some other thing like that. And I understand that that's, you know, it's part of the open kind of world of what we want to do with content and all that stuff does happen. But when it's in your feed and it kind of gets delivered to you, it feels different. And I don't know what to think about that.
Yeah, I mean, have you been used to sell Chinese sneakers yet?
No, I haven't yet. So
Because
that
it adds another layer to it.
I can imagine,
It's this, but this is, okay, so this is the new normal.
Yeah.
Right? Or
Yeah.
it's going to be, because it's not just OpenAI that's going to do this. Google's going to have their answer. We know Papa Elon is brewing something, which we'll get to. They actually just unveiled a new video model as well. So I'm all for punching at tidal waves at times. And I you know, good on everybody that does and records a new rant. But everybody that's listening to this or watching this is going to have to make the decision. Are they going to actively police their likeness?
Yes.
Or are they going to let this ride? Will they give in to this being a new promotional method for whatever endeavors they're going to have on the other side of mass displacement? I mean, this is like, we're just sort of in it. I still don't know how I feel about it. Oh no.
Oh, see, they wouldn't let us put in we couldn't get Mark Cuban's prompt coming in. Oh no, oh sorry.
The Quaker Oats guy, is that why? Do we think Hamburger Helper has more protection than the Quaker Oats guy? And Mark Cuban.
Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, so
Did you have a verified thing, by the way? Did you notice that?
well, that makes sense, I guess, right? It proves that they're a celebrity, I guess. But
I mean, I guess.
I had a thought. Do you think you could put on one of those super hyper realistic masks and do a cameo? Like, have you seen those ones that you see the video of those?
I bet you could.
Yeah.
The other thing that was very, very scary, and this is, I saw in someone's drafts that they were using me and generating me, turning my head from center to left or center to right or up and down.
Interesting.
Yeah, they were trying to generate the basically the security looks.
Interesting.
And so I'm like, could they do that and say the numbers?
Yeah, I don't know.
And then
That's a
clone
good
the
question.
voice or change the voice?
No,
I don't
because it
know.
would have to come through live through the phone.
But
right?
if I don't want to explain how to do it necessarily, but you could easily use like a Streamlabs or an OBS and trigger up, down, left, right.
Yeah, no, I guess
Right?
if
And
you
then
really
play
went
the
into it,
videos.
that's
Yes.
interesting. Yeah, you're
So
right.
look, I understand how I sound when I go like, well, this is it. What are you going to do? And people would yell at their screens being like, fight back, you idiot. You're the one with the mic. You're the one. Like, go fight back. I still don't know if it's not like just what it's going to be and go with it, because it could be fun and amazing. We do have to hold companies accountable. Sure. We do have to make sure that protections and guardrails are in place. But like, I was deep faking. Do you remember like almost 3 years ago, I was in real time
the Ryan
changing
Reynolds
my face
thing.
to be Ryan Reynolds or Keanu and changing my voice. This was open source software that was freely available years ago and arguably better than stuff that people are still putting out paid today. So like, again, is it better for a handful of people to have it and be able to sow the seed of doubt or puppet you in ways you don't want? Or is it better that everybody has access to it with some guardrails?
Everybody has that. It's better that way. I will also say, like, my thing is less about, you and I have both given our permission. Yes. Mark Cuban has given his permission. What starts to feel weird is Mr. Rogers or MLK, these people who are historical figures that clearly they have estates that have control over what they're doing, or Bob Ross, they may not have given permission. And maybe there is some sort of weird rule of somebody who's passed away, because I also generated a video of Elvis eating a turkey on stage. So maybe there's some sort of legal thing there, or maybe that's like a different sort of thing if there's somebody living. But the other thing I want to talk about is two other big YouTubers. So Mr. Beast came out and said, when AI videos are just as good as normal videos, I wonder what it will do to YouTube and how it will impact the lives of millions of creators currently making content for a living. Scary times, which of course, like, that is a question. And I guess the question becomes like, it's not just for true, like Hollywood content people, but also for YouTubers. But then I do want to shout out Jake Paul, because there was a big article that came out in the Hollywood Reporter. And if you remember, Jake Paul was one of the first celebrities to put his image on Sora. there are a bajillion Jake Paul videos because he's a well-known figure in the world. And I actually weirdly worked with Jake Paul like 5 years ago on a TV pilot. And whatever you think about Jake Paul in public, I'll tell you, like, Jake Paul is like one of the most savvy people around marketing and understands all that stuff and very well. So we talked last week about what would it feel like if a famous person kind of added themselves to this thing. And we were talking about an actor, but like, Jake is as famous as probably
famous than more.
Yeah,
than
probably
most actors.
more famous than most actors now. And what's been amazing about this is like, he's kind of embracing that thing we just talked about. And he's embracing it so much that we should play this video. We'll play this here for you.
I've had it with the AI stuff. It's affecting my relationships, businesses. People are hitting me up saying, yo, did you say this? What did you do this for? This was you. I can't believe you did this. It's really affecting things. And honestly, it's like people need to get a life. So it's kind of pissing me off. I'm going to be suing everybody that is continuing to spread these false narratives of me doing shit that I would literally.
So you get a sense there.
Audio only. He's doing like a get ready with me TikTok makeup tutorial thing which is something that people have used Sora to generate, obviously.
Yeah, so basically he's kind of leaning into this idea that like he's clearly given his permission. He knows that people are doing that sort of stuff. Oh, did we get a result?
We did. By the way, I want to shout out, there's already several tools available that will remove Sora watermarks from the videos, right? And there's no shortage of data about how you can sort of re-encode the video to get rid of the digital watermarks that are within the file itself. There's also an amazing app which will add the Sora watermark to your video. So if you want to start trolling social media, by all means, have at it. It works both ways. I want to flag, we got a content violation right away when invoking Captain Planet.
Oh,
so the
Captain Planet people have
got a
said
good
no.
team.
But I do see we got run result
Cease,
back.
desist, infringement.
We got one result back. What are we looking at here?
This is you, me, and Hamburger Helper.
Hey, there he is. Wait, what is it?
So we got Hamburger Helper. So just so you know, the Hamburger Helper people have opted in, I assume, or they haven't opted out.
Sleep at the wheel is what's happening. Like, what? We still have that brand?
That's
Do we have to change it? Is it offensive in some way?
So very quickly, before we move on from the Sora stuff, we should talk about a couple other things. Like Sora has released its own prompting guide for how to make these things. It's really worth looking at. So the OpenAI team is out there and they will show you how to do stuff better. There are a lot of people, if you go to look at this week's AI for Humans newsletter, I kind of rounded up a few of these things as well too. People who are sharing really interesting prompts to do stuff with. Most importantly though, if you follow Kevin and I on Sora, and I'm under the AI for Humans channel, you're under Not Kevin, you can see some of the stuff we liked, and that's really one of the best places to see the stuff that I've seen that's interesting. One of the ones I just saw was there's a great, like almost like Elden Ring thing that's happening, where you see different bosses, and I saw Godzilla, I saw
Bob Ross boss.
Yeah, and I made Bob Ross, and it's
that was you that made that.
Yeah, I made that.
Boss
so
boss.
I made Bob Ross as a big boss, but there are the remix feature really is seeming like a fun place where you can kind of see this stuff because in the remix area you can really watch people and what they're doing. The costume one is really good too. If you haven't seen that, we talked about earlier, the one where they showed the content violation with the kids. There's a bunch of variations on that. In fact, I'll show the Kevin one. I made one of a costume of Kevin, which is very funny, which we can show right here as well. But yeah, it's great. So Kevin, Sora 2, we're still into it. I feel like overall.
Yeah, into it. We're starting to see as more original content, and I just don't mean like IP infringement or remixes of them appear on the platform, and that stops me. So if you're in the app, like, yes, it's fun to hit remix and say like, do the same video, but the person froths from the mouth. That's a great one to do, by the way. It's really fun, or gets progressively more ill during the video. Just add that as any note, and it's funny. But we're seeing original art. So people were doing these very cool, like 360 photography looking things with sacred geometry in the background. And when you look at the prompts, some of the prompts are like full JSON. It looks like you're looking at computer code. It's a lot. But if you look at the prompting guide, which we'll link in our show notes, you can give this thing like thousands of characters of prompting. And it can be for specific lenses and lighting types. It can be for specific actions. It could be for lines of dialogue. You can even get granular with second by second prompting using brackets. So like in the first 3 seconds, it's a close-up shot of an eye. Then the next 4 seconds, we reveal the full Hamburger Helper glove. Man, I hope Hamburger Helper gets a big
that's a good sponsor, by the way. I grew up on Hamburger Helper. I don't know if you ate it all the time, but in our family, we had Hamburger Helper and rice-a-roni all the time. Lower middle class families.
If they give us $50+ plus, I will have said that I ate it every day. that I was raised on it and still do.
By the way, I want to go make some. So when I get home from San Francisco, I'm going to buy some and see if we can do it. I wonder if they have gluten-free hamburger helper now. Doesn't matter, Kevin. The next thing we have to talk about is what's most important. We are here in San Francisco. We're very happy to be doing the thing that we're doing, which is helping be part of our new startup. But more importantly, for you all, thank you always for watching this show. Please like and subscribe. You are awesome. Every week you show up here and we really appreciate that. Some of you have given us money in our tip jar for Patreon, which has helped us to make the kind of videos and pay for the subscriptions that we do here. Helps us get our editor and all the other stuff that we do. So thank you for that. If you leave us a review on our podcast, a 5-star review, it will automatically tweet, as we've said before.
My sweet, sweet algo juicers every week.
Yes.
I thank you.
Yes.
You really pop it off in the comments and make sure you pop those comments this week because it helps the machines recognize that we exist.
That's right. And I don't know what will happen in this version because every time something slightly changes in YouTube, it feels like, wait a second, who are these people? Why are they suddenly sitting next to each other? Either way, go watch us on YouTube, listen to us. Thank you so much, everybody.
And the whales out there, we are actively fundraising right now. And then .chat is the site, but we are deep into the negotiations. And I know you're sitting there on the sidelines wondering, now is the time to leap in.
We actually are having a lot of good conversations around that. No joke, which is really fun. But also, I thought you were going to talk about our $1 million whale that's still out there. We still have the hook. There's that guy on a yacht.
That sounds like a lead check.
Yeah, although, there's a lead check and then there's also a lead check, which is like a little bit of like splitting that halfway. And we go out to Bermuda somewhere, and then we have this thing and this. Let's jump into the next big news of this week, which was OpenAI had its developer day, and Sam Altman got on stage in front of a very long screen, which I found interesting. But the big news out of that was that ChatGPT now has apps both within it and that you can build apps with the AgentKit API. Kev, this is one of those pieces of news that like at first you're like, oh, it's a big deal. And then they're like, well, they didn't even really put it on their own website as a release.
Yeah.
But it's still a big deal for the builders in the space. So let's just talk a little bit about what this means and kind of how it might change the actual web going forward.
Yeah,
Because
so
I think that's a bigger thing.
There's a lot of companies that do the agentic workflow thing that lets you build agents. And an agent in this case is something that could go off, perform a task, and decide when the task is done. People get it confused with workflows all the time. Workflow is like a single end-to-end thing that happens, and when it's done, it's done. The agent, again, can kind of run in cycles or processes or spin up other agents, and it will determine when the task has finished. No shortage of sites and startups that let you build those things. This is OpenAI's stab at it. The response seems to be a little underwhelmed.
Yeah,
I think
guess.
people are saying that the builder is a little convoluted right now. The interface isn't so great. They just launched it. I imagine they'll iterate quickly if they see that there's a there with people. But this could allow you to on the personal side, whenever I receive an email from so-and-so, summarize it and reply with this and do what, I could build an agent that does that. Home automation agents, drudgery of like sales reporting and whatnot. You can build very, very powerful agents, but that plus apps can get really interesting.
Yes.
And so let's talk about the apps thing real quick. Like a week or two ago, they announced the Shopify integration, which lets you browse products and purchase without having to leave chat. Now they're extending apps to all sorts of sites and services. You can even make your own so that you can interact and transact without ever leaving a chat window.
Yeah, which is very cool. And the thing I keep thinking about this is you see a lot of videos of people like interacting with ChatGPT. I'm still not entirely convinced that like that's a fun interaction, that like I want to have all of my life go through the chat interface. Right. So I do think like, okay, well, what does this mean? Really what this powers, and I think what we believe very strongly in, is imagine a world where instead of having to type out your chat, it's a conversation, right? Sure. Because when you think about a voice conversation where it's like, hey, open my Spotify account, that is something that like Alexa has done in some form, not like elegantly, but some form for a while. You can imagine if these apps are driven by natural language and the triggers are driven by natural language, that it will start to be more conversational based, and that the chat, like typing chat interface, is just the first stage of this. Sure. That's where it starts to feel transformative, because what we're really talking about here is within the OpenAI ecosystem, and maybe even within the larger like AI LLM ecosystem, is being able to make things happen and be able to make things happen outside of that system that can connect with the larger web. And that feels really powerful, because you can imagine a world where it is hooked up to your email, or it's also hooked up to your calendar, which a lot of that can happen already. But then think of all the other apps in your life and ways to do it.
Someone hacked together a Hughes bridge, like the smart lights, Philips Hughes.
Sure.
They used the API and they made a little ChatGPT app so that they could just simply say, turn on the desk lamp or whatever. Again, pretty trivial, but wasn't very easy to do within that chat interface. Now, you can imagine a near future where you say, hey, I'm going for a 10-minute jog. Make me a playlist in Spotify. I want no song to play for more than a minute and a half. Blah, blah, blah. And you give it this long, detailed thing.
And it figures it out.
Yes. And it knows to lock the front smart door and shut off the lights while you're gone to conserve some energy.
Because that's the pattern you've set up, right? Yes. Yeah, exactly.
And it's going to take twice that amount of energy just to actually accomplish that task. So,
well, and there will be this uncanny valley of how annoying it is to try to set that task up right. But when it gets it, it'll be great. A couple other big announcements. They released GPT-5 Pro and Sora 2 in the API. Something to know about it is that with Sora 2, you can get non-watermark exports, but Sora 2 Pro, the high-res version, is 50 cents a second. So if you want a Sora 2 Pro output from the API, you are paying $5 per output for a 10-second video.
And that's not per output that you're like, that's the one I want. That is per pull of the slot machine.
Yes, exactly. And I do want to shout out our friend, Theoretically Media, had a great look at what the difference between Sora Pro and Sora Standard is. And it actually is pretty significant. And one thing he pointed out is the $200 subscription, I think, is giving you 30 Sora Pro outputs per day right now. And he did some math over time. It really works out to be beneficial to have paid that if you were going to do a lot of video gen. So if you have a big project coming up, there might be a world where it makes sense to subscribe for that.
Even in the low res and watermarked form, I made an ad for a product we talked about it last week. I made that took off. We did a little video competition for an event and asked people to make it. And we got folks making 2-minute long commercials with it that, again, even low res and even watermarked, it's fine.
Really good. Really good. I think the low res versions, when you watch them in the app, it's fine. It doesn't feel. One last thing, there's a great video that not very many people talked about where during demo day, the Critters team, the team working on that AI movie, went through a custom storyboard tool that they built around for Sora. And this is a really interesting way to look at how Hollywood might actually work going forward with AI video, because what they're basically doing is, if you've seen any Pixar animatic, they break it down shot by shot, and they often do drawings first and then all this other stuff. They have basically set it up so they do a drawing to start, and I think it's a hand drawing to begin with, and then they have it do a rough still, they do a better still, and then they use Sora to animate from 4 choices. It is just a really interesting early look at the way that AI production will change Hollywood. I really encourage everybody to watch it.
Total sense. Yeah. We roughed this with our, all roads lead back to promoting our startup. But we roughed this process with our and then video.
Yeah, exactly.
Where we had the single shot by shot animatic or storyboard, if you will. And we took that, we made those shots look real, and then we put them into other programs to bring them to life. This is 100% the new workflow. But what's crazy is that it is now going from storyboard to, let's just generate 10 versions of the scene.
Yes.
Which one looks best? Okay, click repeat. And it's done.
Yes. And then you just string them together, and then you've got a rough cut of something in a way shorter time. So go check out that video.
Also, conceivably, because you're doing that iteration within the program that is probably rendering the final output, you could then say, lock the seed, which is the number with which that generation is going to start. Let's regenerate that scene now, but do it in 4K and do it with the stereo sound or do it whatever. We know that's the scene we want. So it's okay if you take an hour to render that 10 seconds.
Yeah, it's amazing.
We know it's going into the movie.
Yes, exactly. All right, we have 2 other quick video updates we should do real fast. There are VO 3.1 rumors out there, but I want to be clear. These are rumors right now. A lot of the hype beastie type of survey sites.
Your pager was blowing up last night. I was like, are you dealing again? And you're like, nope, just information trade.
Yeah, so basically the rumor mill, both Higgsfield and a couple other sites are saying that VO 3.1 is coming soon. They're saying sign up now to get part of it. We don't know for sure if it is coming. There is some sort of update that's rumored around true character consistency in VO so that you can have a character that can go through stuff. It is a 0.1 update rather than some sort of larger model. It's not even a 0.5, so keep that in mind. But Kev, the other big video news, and I think one thing I was thinking about this morning is Elon really does hate when Sam gets a lot of shine.
Sure.
And we know for a fact that Sora 2 sent the Sora app to the #1 place in the App Store, which Elon covets very directly.
He's not allowed to get there.
Not allowed to get there. Grok Imagine has an update. So if you remember, Grok Imagine is their image and video model. and they updated it, and there's some really cool stuff coming out of it. One of the ones I thought was a really interesting one was this one where they show Grok's actual Ani avatar walking out of a holographic box. And I will say,
Kevin, that's weird that someone has access to my internet girlfriend?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna have to check the rights on this.
By the way, side note, last night, Kevin and I were walking around the streets of San Francisco with our co-founder coming back from dinner, and Kevin showed me, which I didn't really know because I hadn't spent a lot of time with, just how quickly Ani can go to some pretty scary, I would say scary places, but places I was not expecting. And that was like kind of shocking.
I could see that'd be scary for someone like yourself, Gavin, but for us, this was just
another night.
The appetizer, baby. We were just warming up. To be clear, I had not really used that portion of the app. Not that I'm against it, but I just hadn't. I thought you had to like take time to get to know the anime girlfriend within the app, but no. It will go 0 to sultry and
0 to Skinamax Plus. I would say.
Very quickly now. But I mean, okay, so does this also exist within their image and video generation? Because I think it's a little more guardrail.
Oh, that's interesting.
Too hardcore.
No, but I have seen a couple of videos of like, kind of sultry looking women. And there's a really cool example. It's doing very cool things with anime right now. And this woman is more of a traditional anime shop, but she's definitely looking at you kind of like with the idea that she's interested in at least chatting with you and maybe hearing about your startup. So this is somebody that I think is, the idea that Elon is trying to differentiate himself in some form, and it might be this version of stuff. But my experience with it personally, Kevin, was a little weird because, and by the way, this might have just been the way the system was, but I went to go, in our And Then promo video, the last shot is you and I as Mark Andreessen and Ben Horowitz in this kind of goofy looking face. And I was like, oh, this will make a funny video. So I uploaded that photo. I actually couldn't add a prompt to it. So it takes the photo.
Once you hit the photo, it sort of starts to auto-generate. I think you can tap and change the prompt style, including custom.
Yeah, you can make it fun. Right. And I made it fun. Oh, custom allows you to actually change
custom
the words.
And you can do a prompt, but it is a weird like default behavior. Yeah. Their whole premise is take your photos and bring them to life. Yeah. But it does feel like you press and it's sort of automatically doing it and you don't really have control over it. It will add sound. It will add music. It will do those things. But what did it do with the photo?
Yeah, hold on.
Because I similarly ran a bunch of photos through it. I put a photo of my sweet Dr. Wesley running to see how that would go.
So this one was,
oh, wow.
Yeah, so this was the fun remix of one. And it basically kind of feels like old school AI video where, it's like, this was another one I tried where we're just keep tapping each other's chests.
Yeah,
I don't know. And by the way, neither of these were prompted.
Yeah.
But like, it's fine. It's cool.
Yeah.
I just think it's kind of like hard when you compare it to something like VO3 or Sora 2. It's good. And I think maybe maybe content restrictions will be the thing that Elon will be like, yeah, well, guess what? You can generate
do
whatever
you want there. So who cares if it's a little
Yeah.
What's interesting is that I saw a tweet from someone on the team basically saying that they got this model up and gunning in just a few months.
Which that's pretty impressive.
If that's the case, that is impressive.
Yeah.
The XAI team is quick, right?
Yes.
Like they're just quick and they're getting there. I did see really broken physics in some of my generations, but the fact that there's I guess any physics at all, if they've just gotten started, impressive. The video with Wesley running, it doesn't really look like him in parts, but the fact that it grokked, oh, this is a dog in mid-run, let's continue that cycle.
Yep.
There's some ATV footage where similarly you'll see us sort of driving about. It looks believable. It looks like you'd expect, but it does sort of feel like, oh man, had they gotten this out like a week and a half ago?
Yeah, well, before Sora 2.
Yeah, we'd be singing a different story.
I
but
think
now
so.
It's
So, okay, let's keep going. There's another very cool update from Google, and this is a coding update. They've released a tool called Codemender. And Codemender, Kev, you might want to explain this as somebody who vibe codes, but this is a problem that a lot of vibe coding type people are dealing with. So explain what this is exactly.
Codemender is just basically an agent that will go and review all of the code in the code base and look for vulnerabilities and then try to automatically fix them. And they deployed Codemender by having it look at very, very popular open source repos, like big tools that a lot of people use. It found vulnerabilities and it fixed them, and it did so autonomously. And these were real vulnerabilities that were out in the wild with popular software. And I don't want to get too in the weeds about it, but I do want to say like there was a criticism not too long ago with, oh, you're gonna whisper an app into existence. It's going to be filled with so many bugs, and that can happen. We've seen it happen.
Absolutely. People have leaked their their keys and all sorts of other stuff.
That popular T app, that basically was vibe coded and leaked everybody's licenses and personal information. So that can still happen, and it will happen. But sometimes the tool that can create the issue might also be the tool that can solve it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, that's right. That's a really impressive thing. And that is like the speed that this stuff is moving. We are expecting to get some pretty big updates from Google at some point in the next month, which I think, Gemini 3 has been talked about quite a bit. So keep an eye on that. But Kevin, we have a really big segment coming up that I'm excited to talk about. It's Robot Watch.
Robot Watch. It's Robot Watch.
That's a very calm intro for
Yeah, you really like
for what I believe is a very big robot watch, because today we are going to talk about the update to Figure 03. So just this morning, it's Thursday morning, they released an update for Figure 03. This is the humanoid robot that we've been tracking for almost the whole time we've been doing the show. What's cool about this is there's a lot more, the actual body of the robot has changed quite a bit. It has articulated fingers. It has a much better chance of being able to move its hands around. It has a foot that actually has almost like a toe in it. So when it's walking, it's a little more normal. Oh, and I should also mention, more importantly, it now has fabric, which we've had this argument before.
Here we go.
In general, these robots have like mostly been kind of like steel. And if you look at the Optimus body,
Yeah.
but they are now putting clothes on this robot. And I will say 1X Robotics was first to do this. They had like almost like a tarp on the robot that kind of tightened.
There's gonna be some stanky bots.
This is my concern always.
If someone microwaves some salmon at the warehouse, that robot's gonna
Robots
stink.
better do their own laundry every day. And that they do show doing their laundry. So Kev, this starts to feel, when you watch the 6-minute video, I was watching it, I was like, oh, this looks like a science fiction film, right? This feels a little bit like that first step towards a show or a movie where you would actually be seeing these things live, and they are going to do a beta test of these in people's homes soon.
It's amazing. Look, we talk about Unitree a lot, and we are going to in a minute. Like the demos of them like drop kicking robots and having them sort of stammer and then go back to their choreographed TikTok dance. They're cool, but they don't necessarily apply yet to the sorts of things like, can it hold a pan? Can it put groceries away?
Can it do the laundry? Because it's showing us do the laundry. Now it's doing it all very slowly. And I think it would take multiple weeks to do a full home clean, but it will get better.
Take a week to do it. That's a couple hours that I don't have to spend.
That's
you can take a week to do it. What's really crazy about this new Figure bot is that it has fingertip sensors now that can detect what is as little as 3 grams of pressure. And they have a separate video where they show it gripping an egg, taking a single playing card off of a stack of cards, right? That is key for handling delicates, not just of your laundry, but of like anything in the home.
Your baby.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Moving your baby on the shelf aside as it dusts it, and then putting your baby back into position. So the fingertip sensors are very cool. Inductive charging in the heels of the robot is actually kind of a game changer, because it could just go back to its little charging station and dock. Or if you imagine these things in factories working on assembly lines, they don't have to return to some other place to charge.
That's pretty cool.
You just put a charging mat on the ground and they're receiving battery all day.
Or we're looking at right now the shot of it as a hotel concierge. Now I do want to point out, we are going to go through this kind of weird moment where there's going to be maybe 10 years of this, where you're going to have these things be deployed in the same way that, say, like the espresso robot is deployed at the airport, when you see it at the airport, and you're like, you get the coffee and it's like, oh, they screwed this up. It's going to be frustrating, I think. There's going to be a level of frustration, and there's going to be a level of people having these things in their homes or in their workplaces where they're not going to be working exactly as we want them to. So we are probably a long ways away from these being deployed at scale.
Sure.
But this is the entry point, in the same way that like ChatGPT, when you first saw it, was like, well, that's pretty interesting, but it can't do my work. Guess what? Now it can. That was 2.5 years ago, 2 years ago. This is at that point now for these.
And I can't wait, because I've gone to Vegas with Gavin a few times, and the edge case, because whenever Gavin checks in, the first thing, it's like license, right? His Amex Platinum, and then $100 bill. And he wraps the 2 forms of ID, and he wraps the ID and the credit card in the bill, but he'll thwap the forehead of whoever he's talking to.
So they pay attention.
Upgrade.
So they pay attention.
Upgrade.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I wonder, will the robot think that it needs to download an upgrade, or will it think you deserve a comp because you bribed it and slapped it?
Most likely the upgrade, the robot will do what the concierge does and kick me out of the hotel and never let me back in again.
It calls out the Unitree bots.
they take a picture of me.
They're going to be beta testing in-home soon.
Yes.
It seems to do things end-to-end using AI that we would actually want, like laundry, cleaning, etc., putting the groceries away. Okay. Do you get V1 as a beta test? Would you allow it to go around your house?
100%. If like, I'm not saying like, I think it will depend on whatever income level you're at, right? Like, I'm not gonna say like that I don't live badly, but also like I'm not living at a level where I'm ready to drop 100K on a robot as a test.
Sure.
But if I were, yes, of course I would, because like, why wouldn't you try this new interesting thing? I mean, the thing is like some people who have like, maybe they have lifelong heirlooms in their house that they don't want to trust the robot around. I understand. But like, for me, I think it would just be a really cool experience. I will say like, I've had various Roombas over the course of my life, and maybe that's a direct correlation. Like every time I've had a Roomba, I've had a problem with it in some form.
Sure.
And the Roomba, like, I've never had one that really worked all the way. So part of it, I would expect to get one right away. It would be like, this is going to screw up a lot, but also we'll see what happens, right?
What about the cameras and sensors, like the microphones?
Yeah, I don't care about that stuff. To be honest with you, it's not that big a deal to me.
Will you hang in front of your figure bot? Gavin?
Probably already have in front of my Roomba. So, it's like, I mean, like, no.
What are you doing in front of your Roomba?
Well, I mean, walk
Do you
around.
leap up and scare it? Hey, come on.
I don't think, to me, well, sure, they're going to have to say something about like, we have your protective privacy, blah,
Sure.
blah, blah. But I would hope also that, well, actually, this points
It
out
talks about their ability to upload the video and the learning.
I was going
to
to
the
say,
fleet.
one thing that's interesting is like, will it feel weird and will it feel like having a presence when it's around? Because if you watch that video,
Yes.
that is one of the weirdest things is you see it playing with a dog, first of all, which is like, a poor dog, but I guess good dog, because the dog gets extra play.
Yeah.
But you see it kind of in the background of this world. I saw one shot where a woman kind of looks at it. Oh, she's taking a champagne glass.
Mm-hmm.
And, in a normal world, you might like kind of like say thank you to the waiter, or you might do this. And she just kind of stares and then walks off. We are going to have this upstairs, downstairs thing that show Humans on AMC really did a good job of. It's going to be a while before they start feeling like people per se, but it will be weird because these are going to be like human shaped things.
Yes.
Walking around us.
Trained to emulate human movement and behavior.
Yes,
as
it
well.
will be weird. So that will be strange. Yes, that's the part that's like maybe weirder than even the cameras for me, because it's like having a ghost presence always
Right.
around, and a ghost presence that's constantly breaking stuff and screwing up your house. By the way, I think the reason I wouldn't have it in my house is because I think my wife would just despise it. And I love my wife, and she's just not the best technology person. She sometimes has issues with technology that she thinks she's kind of cursed because her computer will do things she doesn't know.
Right.
I would get a lot of like, why is the robot doing this? And I would just,
Can you make the robot? Blah,
Yes.
blah, blah? And you're like, no, I'm not going to go in there.
Also,
and-
no, I can't do that yet. Why do we have this robot?
Why do we have this thing here? And why are you always hanging in front of it?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so now onto Unitree. Very quickly, Unitree is available at Walmart for $22,000.
What sentence did you just say?
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Unitree G1s are available at Walmart for $21,600, which
Free
is
shipping, though.
free shipping, and you can order a batch of 6 in one shot. Can you imagine having your own little Unitree one
Just
posse?
a crate show up. Like,
Or
yeah.
you could create a boy band. No one has done that yet, by the way. If you are somebody out there with a lot of money that wants to try to think about viral videos, creating a Unitree boy band where you get them to dance in unison in public, that would be great TikTok fodder. What would be a good name for that band?
For the bot boys?
Yeah.
For the robot boys?
Yeah.
What's
What's the name for somebody that has gotten their chopped off? Unix. Unix tree. The Unix tree 6. They could.
all roads. People think I'm the toxic one on this podcast. It always leads back there.
That's not true. Okay, so Kev, would you get one of these on your own?
A Unitree?
Yeah.
No.
No. Why?
Look, I don't. I get the novelty of having one about. I see when streamers have them, they're fun to put wigs on
Sure.
and to like
Yeah.
download new updates and
Or
kick it out.
have 6 dancing ones that sing in a falsetto.
I totally get that. I would rather have the animatronic band from the Chuck E. Cheese restaurants in the 80s.
Yeah, but isn't that like I mean, I feel like, first of all, this
If we're talking about dumb
Sure,
flips on robots.
but you walk into a person who has that in their house,
Yeah.
my first thought is that person is insane. So if you were gonna bring one to the Chuck E. Cheese, whereas this I might be like, oh, they're exploring new technology. If you've got the gorilla from Showbiz Pizza,
Yes.
I think you've lost it, or
Wow.
you've got too much. By the way, I am a fan of the band Those Worlds. I spent a lot of time in them, but that is just a lot of your life to take up with something that is 40 years old. Whereas this feels like you're moving into the next generation. Somehow.
Okay, good to know that. First of all, you're not invited to my next house, Rachel. And you're judgmental, Gavin.
Yeah, exactly.
There is a video that someone made where obviously they're putting the Unitree into some weird situations, like having it walk about near mirrors that are hung up against walls, or having it try to handle big pans that it probably shouldn't be holding on the grill. But like there's some technology in the Unitree that is crazy impressive. The speed that it can move, it's self-balancing. Its awareness of itself sometimes within an environment, but when you watch this thing take a tumble, which is fairly often, you realize this isn't something you really want in your home.
No, and especially the Unitree is kind of like the early stage of it. There's a scene in this video that we'll show here where it's like slipping on stuff on the ground, and I feel bad for it. I will say shout out to the Unitree, like either social team or whoever did this, because it's another influencer they've given these to. And Kai Cenat, iShowSpeed, some of the biggest influencers in the world, they're doing a good job of showing these things out in the world, but most people are using it as content right now. So going from this, which you can see like is kind of almost like a toy, into something like the Figure 3 could be a big move.
Yeah, look, and I have no doubt, by the way, there is some incredibly impressive technology in that Unitree. Especially when you watch it Kool-Aid through a glass window. Katana, which it does in this video.
That's a crazy clip where it starts to run through the door and just bust right through. It fully
busts through the door while holding a sword.
Yeah, exactly.
And it just doesn't stop. And you go, okay, again, like very cool technology. I'm sure it will get more capable, but it is interesting, this approach of like looking at the figure where they're really trying to sell the uses. It's not about look at how fast it is or whatever. Really look at the things it can do versus the Unitree, which is like, A, you can get one now from Walmart, and B, like it does all this weird stuff.
Yeah.
But maybe someday soon it will do the useful stuff.
Well, and the other thing to think about with Figure or 1X, all these American robotics companies, is they have taken a crap load of funding and they have nothing in the world yet. Whereas Unitree is, by all accounts, a very successful robotics company in the world. And like these ones are like kind of more toy-like, but they have been making these for a while. So they do have to come out of the gate and kind of show something of significance. So that is it, everybody. Before we go, I want to shout out one quick thing. I did an interview with the Write with AI subreddit to talk about how AI is changing creativity. Part of it was talking about and then, but go check it out. We'll put a link in the show notes. It's me and my old friend, Fred Graver, who was at Twitter for a long time. That is a really cool community. If you're interested in how to write with AI, to kind of use AI tools to help you kind of facilitate your creative writing, it's a really useful one to look at.
I like 5 o'clock shadow per cell.
I know. It's funny because I
need for you.
Well, but see, the problem is it goes from that to kind of Matt Damon in The Martian very quickly.
I think that is the right length.
Yeah, okay.
And there's got to be a blade or an adjustment out there. We just showed off robots wearing French maid outfits in the home, running around with katanas.
Sure.
There's probably a technology that could keep you at that length.
I do want to shout out.
You should definitely take notes from me.
Well, I was going to say one last Sora video to shout out. We'll show at the very end. There's a great video of Kevin's mustache leaping off his face and running around the house trying to get away from him. So let's take a vote. Maybe in the Discord or somewhere. Should Kevin shave? I honestly I've changed my mind, I think, now on this.
Oh, you've come around.
I think I've come around.
Okay.
So I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Also, let me know in the comments below, and this isn't like like I've already begged for the algo juice. This is a sincere one.
Oh.
If I can put whatever set of instructions we want in my Cameo,
what should you put?
What should be there, right? Because the NFT one was like made me giggle, but there were already people making NFT videos with me, and I'm so all right, what should I put in there for just an hour? What should we do?
You know, that's a really interesting, because you could like put yourself in a costume or anything and have okay.
And then someone will be trying to do a regular video, and then there I am with your custom instructions.
All right, everybody. We'll see y'all next week. Probably back in our normal world. Bye-bye.
Bye.